Okay, so let's take a code trace, take a look at a code trace of this read method we have. So what you're going to do is, somewhere in main, for example, you're going to, create a list of ints and, call that object LOI, and then you're going to call LOI.read and then pass in some file name. Let's say ints.dta. So that's going to call the version of read that takes a file name. It's going to open that file name as a stream, and it's going to pass the stream into here. Now, the default constructor, what it's going to do for us, remember, is it is going to give us in memory. So here's memory. Out in memory, we're going to get this LOI object, and it's going to have a head pointer. And because of the default constructor, the head pointer is going to point to null. And let's just say that my ints.dta, so here's my file, and I'm going to make this pretty simple. Just has 5, 10, and 15 in it, right? So when we start executing this, our little reading pointer is going to be at the beginning of this stream, the stream associated with this file, and then we start execution. First thing we're going to do is we're going to check to see if head pointer points to null. It does, so we don't call clear. I'll do that in just a few minutes. So now we declare x, so x is somewhere, let's put x here, out in memory, and its value is unassigned. Then we also have temp pointer, which is somewhere out in memory. Put temp pointer there, and we make it point to null. Next thing we do is we read a value from the input stream into x. So we're going to read 5. That will be x's value. And our little reading pointer advances to the other side of 5 in the stream. So now we check to see if the input stream in is in a good state. It is. So we enter the while loop, and we check to see if head pointer points to null. Well, it does, and this signifies that we're reading into an empty list. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new node out in memory, and we're going to pass x to the constructor, which sets the private data member object to 5 or to x, sets the next pointer to null, and then new returns the address, which we store in temp pointer and head pointer. So now head pointer and temp pointer will point to the node containing 5. And that's it. We finish executing this if-else statement. So we go and read another x from the stream, another integer from the stream. The stream extraction operator skips over white space, and we read 10. So now our little reading pointer is going to be there. And now x has the value 10. We go back up here, evaluate in. It evaluates the false because it's still in a good state. Let me just draw my little end of file marker here at the end of the stream. So we evaluate, this is still in a good state, and we enter the while loop again, and we check, does head pointer point to null? No, it doesn't. It points to this node that we just added. It points to the node containing 5, so this is going to be false. And in fact, hereafter, it will always point to false, and the purpose of this code block is to always add onto the end of the list, which temp pointer will always point to. So this is false, so we enter the else block, and what we do is we go out and we create a new node. Draw it down here. We pass x into the constructor of the node class, which assigns object to 10, and it assigns its next pointer to null. New returns the address and passes it into the secNext pointer method of the object that temp pointer points to. Temp pointer points to the object containing 5, so its next pointer will point to the node containing 10. Now we're going to advance temp pointer by setting it equal to the return value of getNext pointer called on the node 5, which is going to return the address of node 10. So now temp pointer points to the node containing 10. And we're kind of back in the same situation. Now, temp pointer and head pointer are not pointing to the same thing anymore, but temp pointer is pointing to the last node of the list. So we finish the else block and we go read another integer, or try to read another integer. We skip over white space and we're able to read 15. So now the reading pointer is here, and x has the value 15. We go back to the top of the while loop. N evaluates to false. N evaluates to true, so we enter the while loop. Head pointer is equal to null is false because it points to 5, and so we enter the else block. We do the same thing. We pass x to node's constructor, so somewhere out in memory we get a node containing 15, and its next pointer points to null. New takes the address, and that is input to the setNext pointer method of the object that temp pointer points to. Temp pointer points to this object, so we're passing this address into this object's setNext pointer method, and that makes 10 point to 15. And now we have to make sure that temp pointer points to the last node in the chain, so we advance it by calling getNext pointer. So now now temp pointer is going to point to 15. Now here's where we terminate the while loop. So we just finished this else block, and now we try to read the next integer. Well, there is no next integer, and when we try to read the end of file marker, it sets the fail bit, or the end of file marker, the end of file bit on this input statement. So when we evaluate it here, it evaluates to false. That satisfies the termination condition of the while loop, and execution proceeds to here, and we finish the execution of the method. When the method terminates, we're going to deallocate anything that we statically allocated in the method. So that's going to be x, so x is deallocated, and temp pointer is deallocated. Just like that. And so what's left in memory is the head pointer and the 3 nodes that we just allocated dynamically using new. Now let's go back to this issue of clear. Let's say that the list looks like this, and I know this is a little messy, but we've got this list here. And let's say somewhere else in main we call read again. And I'll just, for simplicity, and you should try this yourself. For simplicity, I'm going to pass in the same file name. We're going to so that version of read is going to open the stream. We're going to start back at the beginning of this file, and it's going to call the read method that takes an iStream as an argument. First thing we're going to do is we're going to say, does head pointer point to null? Well, it doesn't. So that means that there is a linked list in this object, LOI. And we're going to call the clear method. The clear method will traverse this list, and it will delete 5, it will delete 10, it will delete 15. And when the clear method terminates, head pointer will point to null, which is exactly where we were when we started our code trace. So this makes sure that we don't have a memory leak. And it might be a good exercise for you to pretend that we comment out this line and execute this second call to read and see what happens.